Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. It's a great day to be alive, and I'm really happy to be here with you with this awesome topic that I think every emotional eater struggles with. And I am just right now, just to let you know, I am filming this straight from the Secret Sauce group. So if you are listening to this as a podcast and you have not yet joined the Secret Sauce group, please do. If you're in the Secret Sauce group right now, make sure you comment below, and I'll jump in there right after the recording stops so we can continue the conversation. That's what we do in the Secret Sauce group, as we talk about all things having to do with really emotions. I don't talk a lot about emotional eating because, hey, we know that food and weight is a symptom. But when we get down really the nitty gritty and dealing with the underlying causes, that's when there's hope. That's when there's true freedom from food addiction and emotional eating and the yo-yo dieting cycle. So thanks for jumping in the Secret Sauce group on Facebook. Just go there and type in Secret Sauce. And yeah, let's chat. Love to have you there. I'd love to meet you as well. So today's topic is really breaking free from imposter syndrome. Because guess what? I think women in general struggle with this. So it's not, the emotional eaters of the world don't have the corner on the market, but certainly it's something that plagues us as emotional eaters because, I know from my personal experience, I felt for years like an imposter, and I felt like, and I think it came from a feeling that I wasn't enough. I grew up feeling like I wasn't enough, like the person I wasn't enough. I'm going to take this earring out. The person I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't smart enough. I had all these, these insecurities about myself. And I just felt like I didn't measure up. And so guess what I did? Then I started pretending. Pretending to be smart, and how do you do that if you are actually smart? Which I now realize I am. But for years and years and years, I felt like I wasn't. I thought I was dumb. I was dumber than my sister and my dad. They both went to Harvard. And I'm like, oh, I'm not as smart as them. And, I'm always measuring myself against other people and coming up short. But what do you do when you have this kind of insecurity? Well, you pretend, and even though I was smart, I was always trying to act smarter than I was. I was trying to read things like read the New York Times or read the Wall Street Journal and try to come up with intelligent things to say, and all this silliness, that just really made the problem worse, because once I started pretending, then I felt even more like an imposter. I already felt like an imposter because I felt like I didn't measure up. But then once you add to it this whole phoniness, of me trying to put it on, trying to be somebody I'm not, trying to be nicer than I was, trying to be more helpful than I was. So much of the time I was helping people and I didn't even like these people, So it's like, it just adds, problem on top of problem, symptom on top of symptom. And what happened is I had to use food to cover all this pain up. First of all, cover up the fact that I felt like an imposter. So, when I was numbed out on food, then I felt like, oh, I fit in fine. And I wasn't sort of I wasn't as tortured by the thoughts of insecurity going through my mind. I was sort of numb to it. I was in a sugar coma, carb coma, and just acting like I fit in fine. Of course it didn't work. I still had insecurities, still thought nobody would like me if they knew who I really was. That was another thing. I had the craziest thoughts, and I thought if anybody knew what I was thinking right now, they would lock me up. Okay. And this is the problem with having imposter syndrome, is that we have this inner life, this secretive life. It's like we're one person on the inside and we portray another person on the outside, and it creates this dichotomy, that we're always trying to negotiate. We don't want people to know that we don't really think we're enough. We don't want people to know that we're really not who we say we are. So it creates all this tension that we have to work so hard to keep in check. And that's what we do with food. Food keeps us in check. Food keeps us, keeps it all packed inside. We keep those insecurities down. We keep that crazy, going on in our minds down, with carbs, with sugar. Let's face it, we're not binging on lettuce and celery most of the time, right? We're binging on carbs and sugar. and heavy foods, fatty foods, pastries and donuts and pizza, candy, chocolate, ice cream, Doritos, these heavy, high calorie, highly unhealthy foods, or the healthy versions of them, right? We can get plenty of chips now at Whole Foods, black bean chips and corn, healthy organic corn chips or non-GMO, this or that. It doesn't matter. So we're still binging on carbs and sugar and fat because that keeps the crazies down, okay? That keeps our heads from spinning off our heads, our minds, or our minds from spinning off our heads, or whatever, you know what I mean? And so the bottom line is food keeps us in check. We use food to stuff down this terrible truth that we believe is true, which is that we're really not all that, which is that we're really an imposter. And what a lonely place that is to live, right? I lived in so much loneliness, believing I was an imposter, believing that if anybody actually did know me, they wouldn't accept me. Talk about inauthenticity. I was not authentic. I was phony. I was always trying to act nice when I had all kinds of terribly hateful thoughts in my head. As an emotional eater, we bury a lot of crap, right? We're burying angry feelings. We're burying resentful feelings. We're burying a lot of ugliness because it doesn't mesh with the person we portray ourselves to be. We want people to think we're nice because being nice is really important to us. Being liked is really important to us as people pleasers. And so what we do is we use food to keep all the ugly stuff down because we don't have a way of dealing with it, okay? So we keep it down with food. We keep it buried with food. Why is that a problem? Because we have to keep burying it with food. That's why we keep eating and eating and eating. That's why 98% of all diets fail. Because we go on a diet, we take off our layer of protection, right? Our means of lying to ourselves and our means of remaining an imposter. We take that off by going on a diet or going on a special food plan and eating healthier. But if we don't deal with all that stuff, all that yucky stuff that the food is keeping buried, guess what? We're not going to last long on that diet. We're not going to last long in that healthy eating plan. We're going to pop right back into where's our food, where's our chocolate, where's that ice cream, and we won't be able to stop ourselves. That's why when you feel compelled to eat, that's where that compulsion is coming from. It's coming from all that stuff that we've got buried inside that's begging to be covered up, either covered up or dealt with, okay? And that's really the rub, is that if we want to overcome emotional eating, we've got to stop covering crap up, okay? We've got to stop covering it up. We've got to bring it up and deal with it, clear it away, so we no longer have to keep it buried. But that's a tall order for an emotional eater, and emotional eaters don't really want to deal with that stuff. And so they think, give me another diet. That's where we get stuck in that terrible, terrible cycle of yo-yo dieting and just like being susceptible and seduced by the next diet that comes down the pike, even the healthy ones, even the ones that are, supposed to be good for us, like the keto or the intermittent fasting, one that has research behind it. On paper, these things are good, but as emotional eaters, we're seduced by that stuff because we want to believe there's a quick fix, a way to circumvent that journey that we need to take. And that journey is within. Okay, that journey is, as Gary Zukav used to call it, the seat of the soul. Title of his book, The Seat of the Soul. That's the journey that emotional eaters need to take if they want ongoing and lasting freedom from emotional eating. And that's the journey that my clients are taking through Heal Your Hunger. Okay, that is the journey, and they're doing it courageously and in some ways very easily because I make it easy. Like I've got a system for doing this, for basically uncovering, discovering and discarding the crap. Okay, clearing it all out so you don't have to keep it tamped down with food. When you don't have that crap inside of you, when you're free, when you are no longer judging yourself for your thoughts or feeling like, oh my God, I'm the worst person in the world, when you're no longer beating the crap out of yourself for all that negative noise in your mind, when you realize there's so many other people who feel that way. I mean, in the Heal Your Hunger community, we get together every week on these group coaching calls, and these women are revealing all kinds of stuff. I mean, they're letting the cat out of the bag, and we end up laughing about this stuff because we're all so common. We're all so common, and we live in isolation and believe we're the only ones, right? That's why we live as imposters, right? Because we really believe we're the only ones, and so we have to put it on, put our mask on, show ourselves to the world as somebody we're not, and then go home at night and eat and pack down the truth of who we really are. When in fact, we really are good people. We really are intelligent. We really are beautiful souls, okay, and beautiful beings. But when it's up to us, when we're living alone, we're not getting help with our struggles with food, when we're just doing it in isolation, trying to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, trying to manage this on our own, we fail and we continue to eat because we don't have the support and also the mirroring of realizing how common we all are. So in our group coaching calls, I mean, women are laughing about this stuff. I mean, the stuff that goes on in our heads, we're not the only ones who think that way at all. This is so common, but until we open ourselves up, until we reach out for help, until we realize that we can't do this alone, which is not a sign of weakness, that's a sign of courage. Okay, when you stop living in isolation with your disordered eating and you reach out for help, that is a courageous move, okay? And it's also the quickest way to get relief from overeating, binge eating, and disordered eating. And so that's really the key. In order to overcome imposter syndrome, you're going to have to dig that stuff out, but you can't do that alone. You can't do it with people who haven't done it. That's why my clients are getting so many successes under their belt, so many days of freedom from overeating. They're adding days and weeks and months upon months because they're finally living in freedom. They're stopping bearing that crap down. They're digging it out, getting rid of it. They've got a self-care plan that enables them to feel safe, enables them to get honest. I mean, so much of it has to do with honesty, doesn't it? I find that we lie to ourselves because we think we're so bad and we think the truth will kill us. Conventional wisdom says that, if I were to show or tell anybody, what goes on between my ears, the fact that I hate somebody I'm supposed to love, or the fact that I have these crazy thoughts, I want to murder somebody who just gets on my nerves. I used to think that all the time. I'm like, God, that person would only die. Like, I don't have to listen to them one more day. Again, these crazy thoughts. And when we address that stuff, I no longer have to keep that stuff down. So that's what's so beautiful about this process, and also it takes away the isolation. It's so lonely to think we're the only ones who think the way we think. It's so, so lonely. And you don't have to live in that loneliness anymore. I have become an open book. And the reason why I'm even talking about this right now is because I've just come off of a weekend with some colleagues, very accomplished people in the health space, doctors and health practitioners and New York Times bestselling authors, and these amazing people who are my friends, and they're also my colleagues. And I used to, be around people like this and be like, oh my God, I'm so unworthy. Oh my God, if they only knew. If they only knew what a numbskull I was. But today, and this weekend, I was free. I was completely authentic. I was myself with no apologies. No, like, gee, I'm not as good as them. I don't have a New York Times bestseller, or, I'm not as accomplished. I don't have all these letters by my name. All that crazy noise that goes on between our ears when we compare our insides with other people's outsides, when we think other people are better than us. I didn't have any of that. And I just stood on my own 2 feet, and I was authentically myself and unapologetically myself. And guess what? People loved me and accepted me the way I was. And I brought many things to the table that benefited other people as well. I mean, I got tremendous benefit from them because they're just incredible souls, beautiful souls, highly intelligent souls, and accomplished souls. And I learned so much from them. But that it was not a one-way street. There were things I brought to the table as well, because I showed up with all my heart, with all my authenticity, and that's kind of an overused word. I don't really care for the word because it's kind of overused, but the spirit of it is right on, right? Being who we really are, no longer being an imposter, no longer trying to be someone we're not. that's why we end up overeating, because we're not aligned. We're not living aligned with who we really are. We're thinking we have to be somebody else. And that gap, that used to drive me nuts, that gap of, being one person and pretending to be another person, and having that gap where I just felt like I couldn't bridge that gap, and I was out of sync with myself. That's when I would eat, because that feels bad. That disrupts our flow, that makes us feel dissonant, that makes us feel out of whack, and that makes us feel uncomfortable, and we're not in the flow. That's when we eat, to kill those uncomfortable feelings, obviously to bury the feelings that make us, feel like we're not enough. But also when we're just not aligned with who we really are and we're not living authentically, that's when we eat. That's when we punish ourselves with food. So I just really want to encourage you and let you know that, first of all, you're not the only one who thinks who feels like an imposter. It's a big issue for many people, and especially emotional eaters. We do take the cake on this, I think, and really believing that we're the only ones, believing that we're so bad, believe that we're so unworthy, believing we have to pretend in order to be accepted. I'm just here to tell you, you're not the only one that feels that way, and it's not true. You do not have to pretend. You do not have to be someone you're not, and it's not true that you'll be rejected if you're who you really are. But you have to do some work first, okay? So you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be myself, like I'm going to authentically be myself, because we've spent years covering that person up. We have spent years trapping her in a corner, sort of putting her in the closet and throwing away the key. So you're not going to pop out of bed and all of a sudden be yourself, because you have a lot of messages in your mind that say, I can't be. Like, it's not safe to be myself. And I think, for many of us, we grew up believing we weren't safe to be ourselves, that somehow we wouldn't measure up. Somehow, sometimes there might be the threat of physical danger if we were ourselves. And so we've got a lot of messages that need to be sorted out. But you can do that. And that just takes deeper work. And that's what we do with Heal Your Hunger. We dig and we excavate the things that stand in the way between, our authentic selves, and basically between being our authentic selves, and being the imposter. Okay. And so when we do that deeper work, and when we do it in the safety of a community of people, of women who are doing that work, it becomes so much easier. You don't need 20 years of therapy to do this, by the way. That's the very long way around. You can directly address this and heal this in such an easy, really, really expedient way. When you do it in the community of loving, safe people who are doing this, when you're willing to be honest, when you're willing to really face yourself, which you, again, can't do unless you feel safe, and feel like you got support. But I'm telling you, the changes can happen so quickly. When you're willing to take this amazing journey. What does that have to do with food? When you feel more yourself, when you're more aligned with who you are, and you're not ashamed and you're not embarrassed and you're not apologizing for yourself, when your self-esteem isn't in the toilet because you think you're not enough, I'm telling you, you can shine, you can stand with your, with your hands out, open to receiving love and validation, open to the gifts that the universe has for you, and you can hold your head high and know that you're worthy, and know that you're like just as good as the next person. Again, I was with, very accomplished people this weekend, and I felt completely equal to them, completely equal, because I am equal. I'm a child of God, and I'm worthy of every good thing. And I'm just as intelligent, just as capable of these people. Maybe I don't have as many accomplishments as they do. I don't have the degrees that they have. I haven't written all the books that they've written. But I will tell you that, but I feel 100% good about who I am, and knowing that I have something to contribute, and I'm completely worthy of every good thing. So I want that for you. Stop running from who you are. Stop thinking that who you are isn't enough, and come along with us, do this deeper work so you can finally hold your head high and feel just as good as the next person, no matter what their accomplishments are. That's not a reflection on you. That doesn't somehow make you less than because they've accomplished so many things in their lives. freedom is what we're talking about here. When you feel free in your being, when you're no longer keeping all these like negative thoughts and feelings and self-doubts trapped inside of you by burying them with food. When you get that stuff out, you no longer have to bury them with food. You don't have the shame of overeating. You don't have the shame of hiding who you are or hiding how you eat. Imagine how free you can be when you're no longer living in the shadows, no longer, thinking who you are isn't enough, no longer afraid that somebody's going to see the way you eat or know how you eat or see your body, the way it is. I mean, gosh, body shame's a whole nother topic. I'll get to that another time, but that goes along with it. When we're ashamed of our eating and when we overeat and binge and we don't feel good about our bodies, that's a whole nother layer of hiding. It's a whole nother layer of hiding that we have to do and covering up. And that just, it mars our ability to feel joy in this life. It mars our effectiveness in this world, which just adds to our sense of being an imposter. So do you see how it's like symptom upon symptom upon symptom? It's like, this is a gnarly, it's really a gnarly condition. We're not just talking about, eating extra, an extra handful of chips here. Being an emotional eater, eating things we don't feel good about, being out of control of food, these things are both a symptom of feeling bad about ourselves and feeling like an imposter. And they're also the cause, they're the cause of feeling bad about ourselves as well. So when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you get sick and tired of being an imposter, and having to pretend in your life, wearing a mask in your life, when you're ready to throw off that mask, get support, heal the underlying, gunk that stands in the way of you feeling like just a beautiful, loving, and effective and productive child of God, I'm telling you, you can have a whole different experience of life. And of course, your relationship with food will transform as a result. So that's my experience. That is my 100% experience. And that's what I'm so grateful and blessed and honored to share with my clients on how to do. So you can have that too. And I really encourage you to stop living in the shadows, come out of the shadows. You're not bad. You're not stupid. You're not all those things that your mind tells you are. And you can be totally free from food and from that negativity. So I want that for you. Definitely. I think I have a couple spots this week open for breakthrough sessions. I've got a lot going on, but if you want to see if you can fit in my schedule, just go to the show notes and there should be a link there. If you want to talk about this further, definitely let's schedule a time to chat. I know I'm traveling the following week and won't have any openings on my calendar, but there might be a few this week. So love to chat with you and see how we can get you on that path of freedom and being the authentic, beautiful, loving, wonderful person that I know that you are. And it's such a pleasure, when I get to show my clients this wonderful journey that results in so many good things, and not to mention freedom from the bondage to food. So let's do that. Let's chat. And also don't forget to join us in the Secret Sauce group on Facebook. So thank you so much. I love you so much. And you deserve total freedom. So I'm signing off here. This was recorded in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm on my way back to LA right now. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next show. Take care.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.